Trend publications. Finalising your trend stories and trend publication. So by now we've become very familiar with this diagram. We've seen it pretty much every week or each time you've done the course. This pretty much maps out the whole process of trend forecasting. Now you wouldn't just be doing this at one time, finishing it all and completing one trend publication before starting the next. You should be doing all these things along the same time, and you'd be working on multiple trend publications at the same time. If you bear in mind that you're predicting trends 2 years ahead, and generally a trend publication would come out each season, therefore every 6 months, you need to be working on multiple seasons at a time. So you should always be doing your fashion scans, of course, going to any trade shows or networking events that you possibly can, always doing your consumer scans. Remember, consumers are changing all the time, so they're buying motives and so on. So you need to keep up with these to make sure trends are always targeting the right consumers and how your consumers are changing. Always doing cultural indicators. So with your pestle, you might not need to do a specific pestle analysis, although it's always recommended that you do once every so often. You always need to be keeping in mind what's going on in society and getting your brain processing to think, how will this affect the future? How will this affect the future consumers? How will you project these into trends? And of course, and you should be doing this already, but always monitoring your partners' competitors. And then translating into your fashion analysis, trend analysis and competition analysis for your outcome to be your trend stories or a combined forecast that a client would use. So again, this is an ongoing cycle which would be working on multiple seasons at a time. So what happens now? So now you've completed your trend stories for the season, what do you do next? Well, designers will be using this information to design collections or ranges. Perhaps you'll be using the trend stories yourself to design ranges or print collections. Buyers should be using it to range build from, and merchandisers for display and stock information. Your trends should help a client confirm their in-house trend stories and instill confidence in buys and orders. Remember, everything you're wearing has been designed and trickled down from original pestle analysis and trend forecast. It's all a cycle, it's all a process. So now it's important to check through your publication. Make sure your trend stories are coherent and translatable. Designers, buyers, merchandisers, even you should be able to translate the information you're providing with ease. Remember, this is what the client is paying premium sums for. Have you provided varying yet precise information? Are your trends new and, most importantly, exciting? And do they excite you? Remember your research all the time and keep this in mind while you're checking through your trend publication. Remember, how did you come up with your trends and why? Remember, you looked at your competitors, so what you should be offering your trends should be new and exciting and staying ahead of your competitors. You've done your pestle research, so all of your trends should translate to things that you think will happen in the future within relation to your pestle analysis, as well as taking into consideration your consumers, so making sure that obviously your trends do relate to your consumers, and more importantly, your consumers will buy for them once they're translated into fashion collections. Make sure you ask yourself, are your trend stories translating this information, all your research? Let's look at this in more detail. So let's take a look back at your trend boards. You should now have 3 trend stories in total, or more if you desire. So each one should be telling a very different story, yet be targeting and identifying with the same consumer. They should inspire the following: mood and feel of your story, hints of shape, texture and detail that you'd use within a collection, colour palettes, as well as print and graphic. Remember, ask yourself, are your boards inspiring? Will they inspire a designer to create a collection from them easily, without confusing them? Do you have the right balance of images? Will a designer be able to create a collection with ease? Will they have all the components that explain exactly what they should be using to translate this into a collection? This should be the most inspiring section of your report. Next, the colour palette. You should have precise yet varied colour palettes. Each trend should have a colour palette that is unique yet different. Just bear in mind when you go in stores, look at some of the stores that you've been to recently. As you look around at all the various different merchandise collections, although there's probably a harmony across, there's not everything that's completely contradicting each other. Each collection has different colour palettes. They'll all be probably targeting different consumers and their different buying behaviours, but they'll all be offering something different with slight different colour palettes. So which should your colours palettes inspire? They should inspire the following: colour palettes for collections, giving ideas specifically for base colours, as well as separate ideas and colours for highlights and details, as well as ideas for print and graphic colours. Ask yourself, do you have 3 different colour palettes? Can a designer make 3 very different collections from your palettes? Imagine how these palettes would look as a collection in store. Think about stores. I often go into H&M and Topshop and things to shop for myself and to see what's going on. As you go around, there's very different kind of collections going on with different colour palettes. So you don't want to just be offering 3 stories of greige, they all want to be different. So make sure you are doing this. It might mean that you need to go back and tweak if you've got too many of the same colours that are repeating. Or if you've got greens, for as an example, that are always as base colours, maybe these need to be shifted to be more highlight colours in other collections to make sure that there's a variation as the season continues. Fabrics. You should suggest fabrics that are appropriate that complement your trend stories. Each trend should have specific fabrics that relate to it. They should inspire the following: ideas for usage and texture within collections, the latest in fabric developments, as well as take on board sustainability issues. Make sure you ask yourself, do your fabrics suit your trends? Do they relate to them? Are you offering enough variety and information here? Again, you don't want to just offer 1 or 2 ideas here. A collection will have loads of different fabrics within it, so make sure you're offering a variety and really inspiring a designer here too. Imagine how these fabrics also would look as part of the collection in store. Imagine most collections. Lots of them, if you're thinking about kind of casual wear, women's wear, there'll be denims, there'll be jerseys, there might be nylons, there might be polyesters. Make sure you've got all of these and offering them within the collection. Again here, you could either present these as physical fabrics or as digital ones. Print and pattern. You should suggest print and pattern techniques that suit your trend stories. Each trend should suggest specific style and techniques of print and pattern. They should inspire in the following: ideas for print and pattern design, new and future print techniques, as well as colours for print and pattern. Ask yourself, do your print techniques look new and exciting? Do they reflect the themes within your trend boards? Make sure you're offering the latest in techniques. There's so many developing ideas in digital printing at the moment. They're allowing a lot more colours within print techniques from what original screen printing used to bind and restrict us by. So make sure you're offering these within your trends too. Key shapes. Finally, if relevant, you should also include key shapes, especially if you haven't put any on your trend boards to date. So what are the latest shapes and details that relate to your trend? These should inspire the following: collection design, collection components. Think, what are the must-have items that a designer needs to put into a collection for this season? Are these illustrated on your boards? This is what you need to add here. Key silhouettes and features, as well as colours. Ask yourself, do these shapes suit your trend? Do they reflect the themes within your trend boards? Again, how would these look as a collection in store? Above all, remember, although you might have 2 or 3 boards that make up your trend story, maybe your trend board along with the key shapes and a print and pattern one, and then fabrics, for example, there should still be the word synergy going across them all. So you shouldn't suddenly have new colours on your key shapes boards that completely contradict your original trend boards, likewise with your fabrics. There should be a synergy across them. Everything should relate. So just a recap on synergy again, which we looked at earlier on. Synergy is the interaction of elements that, when combined, produce a total effect that is greater than the sum of the individual elements and contributions. Above all, your trend boards should work in harmony with one another. They should be promoting the same messages as you go across the few pages. If anything's confusing, consolidate it or eliminate it. Again, if you're not 100% that yours are flowing properly, then go back, take away some images, replace them. Make sure that you're 100% happy with them at the end. Creating the finishing touches to your trend publication. Once you are happy with all your trend boards and all the components on them, you can now go back and write your introduction. Go back and write an introduction overview of your trends. Summarise the pastel information and how you translated this into your trends. Introduce each of your trends within the introduction. Highlight your USPs, unique selling points. What is really new about your trends for this season that clients haven't seen before? What will really excite them and really interest them throughout the report? Summarise this here. Contents page. Especially if you're going to be handing this out to clients, maybe not just using it personally, you should always include a contents page. It's not long, doesn't take long to complete, and just makes it look really, really professional. If you're just going to be using it personally or in-house, then obviously there's no need to do this. Create title pages. Again, if you're wanting to present this to clients and things, it's always nice to put those finishing touches. So for each of your trends, rather than just rolling from one trend to another, have a blank space in between them and have a title board for your next trend. Remember, white space is your trend, and that is translated throughout the report, not just on the individual pages. So just don't cram things so that one trend goes to another. Again, creates a little bit of white space in between and just a nice title board to introduce the following trend rather than just jumping straight into the busy trend board. And bibliography. Again, remember, especially if you're using this with clients or if you're going to be using it for professional purposes, you need to go back and reference all the quotes that you've used perhaps within your introduction or in any of the trend boards, and as well as all your images. These need to be referenced as well to cite the original owner. You need to do this using the Harvard method, which you can look up on the internet and get lots of information on. Again, if you're just using this personally, it doesn't matter. You don't really need to do it. But again, if you're going to put it onto a blog or see it where anybody gets to see it publicly, then this is really, really essential. So to finish off, go through your entire publication and make sure you're 110% confident and happy with the outcome. Make sure you're really, really satisfied and happy with the way that things are looking. Once you are, go on and do the following. Write an introduction for your publication, create a contents page, create the finishing touches like title page and so on, and finally do your bibliography and image referencing. And then go back and you can see that hopefully all your trend publication should now inspire confidence for designers or yourself to go and create collections or print and pattern collections from. Good luck.